Welcome to PeaceVision. We are a portal for positive change, and I'm really excited to introduce this fellow. Torsten Hoffmann has been here before. He's a documentary filmmaker, and he's done two amazing docs about cryptocurrency. And today, we're going to talk to Torsten about where he went for this one, who are the nefarious characters he may have interviewed, and what's going on in the Bitcoin world. So welcome, Torsten.
Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot.
So can you give us an idea of where did you go for this, and what would, you did the first film about Bitcoin, the end of money as we know it, and what is Cryptopia, and what was the focus on this new film?
Yeah, back then in 2014, there was really just one story, it was Bitcoin. Nothing else really existed. But now, 6 years later, and a whole industry has emerged. The price of Bitcoin is 100 times higher. The number of people owning it or using it or programming with it is 100 times larger. And there's a lot of interesting stories. And this film, Cryptopia, shows the good, the bad, and the ugly behind this movement and the people behind it. And as you rightly point out, there's a lot of good things happening, but also a lot of scams and things that we need to have a look as well and discuss as well.
So you did cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. What good can you report?
Well, I do think that maybe you and I don't really see it because our government or our money that we use, the US dollar, the euro, the Australian dollar, are relatively stable. So we don't really see inflation. But if you go to Venezuela or countries like that, you really have problems with your domestic currency. And in places like this, Bitcoin really has a good use case as store of value or even as a medium of exchange.
And in your film, I know that there were some characters that you were going after. Who are the bad guys in the industry, and what did you uncover in Cryptopia?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always the good, the bad, and the gray pieces in between. But I think that the clearly projects that need to be called out are all these ICO scams. So not all ICOs are scams, but these were basically...
An ICO for our public is an initial coin offering, right?
Correct. And that was at the time when Bitcoin was going all the way up. Everybody thinks, oh, I can make money with this too. I publish a white paper, I publish Torsten coin and, sell a big idea with nothing behind it, right? And we actually saw the exact same thing happen at the .com bubble 20 years ago, right? When the internet was a hot thing, and then everybody added .com to their company name, trying to make millions. And so there have been people really screwing investors out of their well-earned money.
So the thing that you would advise is to stick with one of the top coins if you are thinking about investing, and to do it through a legitimate source. In the States, there's a few different exchanges. We have Coinbase, we have Gemini. Any advice about what the basic list that people should check off before they purchase any cryptocurrency?
Yes, I think that's a very, very important point. So maybe before we go to exchanges, just realize this is still a very risky and experimental field. Don't risk your life savings. It might be an interesting play to put 1-2% of your net worth into it, and if you do, then go to a reputable source. And the two companies you mentioned are certainly well established and have good reputation. And don't just follow some links on the internet, because there's a lot of scammers out there.
And tell me about where you went and who are your targets for this film? Who are some of the interesting characters that you got to interview in the crypto space?
Yeah, so gladly I have these relationships from back then, 5 years ago, and so I revisit them and they tell me what has changed or how the stories have changed. So I have anyone from Charlie Lee, Roger Ver, Vitalik Buterin, all these big guys in the industry. But in terms of production, so this was funded by Screen Australia. My company's based in Australia, and a German broadcaster. I'm originally German, so these are the two large sources of funding. And I did a Kickstarter where a couple hundred fans supported the film as well. And then we filmed in Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, Germany, UK, Switzerland, and the United States. So 4 continents and 6 countries or so.
Let's talk a little bit about, we have a lot of filmmakers that watch our shows. So what format did you shoot in? What cameras did you use? And in what different situations did you come up against in terms of cinematics?
Yeah, so I am a 4K guy. I used to have a company called 4K Content Hub. I used to sell 4K films to Samsung like many, many years ago. So that was definitely the go-to format. Always 2 cameras usually. We did the indoor shoots with my on-camera bits in 8K. So we have a little bit more flexibility in editing and zooming and things like that. And the most challenging bit was going to Switzerland with the whole team because we filmed at a military installation. So it's basically Bitcoin's most famous and most secretive place, where allegedly 10% of Bitcoin private keys are held behind nuclear-grade doors, deep inside a mountain. 2 camera crews, and it was just a crazy little shoot, about a 5-minute sequence, and that one was a lot of fun to shoot.
I can imagine, yeah. And you didn't walk out with any crypto that wasn't yours, did you?
No, the funny thing is actually after going through all these security detail, I mean, it's like a little James Bond movie. But finally, we're in that place, and then the guy says, "Well, I can't take you any further. I can't show you what's behind the door." I'm like, "Well, we came all this way, and now you're not even showing." "No, we can't." So they showed us different servers down there, and we make it clear that, like in the script, that these aren't the actual servers, but they're kind of next door. And they showed us a few security features, but they didn't tell us all the secret sauce.
Well, for people that don't understand, including myself, Bitcoin is a digital currency, and it's stored either on a traditional, exchange, or it's stored privately. How does that work when you store it privately?
Yeah, so you can think of Bitcoin as you can think of it in many ways, but one way to maybe visualize it, it's kind of similar to your email account, right? So your email account is like a public address, right? Mine is producer@cryptopiafilm.com. But I have a password, so only I can get access and then send emails from that account. And it's kind of similar with Bitcoin as well. So there's a public address where I send money to your Bitcoin account, but only if you have the private key, then can you access it and spend it or put it somewhere else. And these private keys is what you need to protect. And you're absolutely right. You can protect it by trusting an exchange. You can protect it by saving it yourself on paper, on a hardware wallet, or some people use those kind of bunker super secret devices, like big funds that have $100 million in Bitcoins. They trust those guys better than they trust their own security.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Torsten Hoffmann, with the new film Cryptopia. Torsten, would you let people know how they can find the film?
Yes, please. If you want to support independent filmmakers, go to www.cryptopiafilm.com. The film is available for like $5 or something like that. Support independent filmmakers, and I really appreciate that.
Excellent. Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to hear from Torsten one more time, and we're going to talk about some of the different coins out there and what they're doing. So you're going to want to watch that upcoming episode as well. Have a great day, Torsten.
Thank you. Thanks.